You awaken in the dark the same way a young warrior once did, startled not by a roar, but by the sting of his first wound. It wasn't deep. It wasn't deadly, but it was enough to snap him out of the illusion that life would wait for him to become strong. Pain has a way of slicing through the fog a man wraps around himself, cutting through the stories he tells to avoid facing who he truly is. And in that first cut, something ancient stirs a sleeping force rising from the floor of your soul. You live in a world that dodges discomfort like it's poison, a world that hides from cold, hides from effort, hides from truth. But Musashi grew under a sky where men didn't choose the timing of hardship. Hardship chose them. His first wound didn't teach him how to fight. It taught him that there was no escaping the path ahead, and whether he walked boldly or crawled in fear, the blade, life's blade, was coming. You felt this in your own quiet moments, the moments you wish you could skip, the mornings when the weight of your life presses into your ribs. The doubt, the confusion, the hunger to be more than you are, but the terror of what it might demand. This is the battlefield most men flee from. The private arena where growth begins, not with victory, but with discomfort. That is why the first cut matters, not because it breaks you, but because it wakes you. Pain is not a punishment. Pain is an initiation, a whisper from life that you are still alive, still unfinished, still capable of becoming something sharpened and real. And as you step into this journey, remember this: the wound that startles you today is the doorway to the man you were meant to become tomorrow. There is a weight you carry that no one will ever witness. It sits on your chest in the middle of the night. It lingers behind your eyes when you stare at a silent ceiling. It wraps around your ribs like an invisible band of iron. Every man knows this weight, though he rarely names it. Regret, expectation, fear. The unspoken pressure to stand firm when everything inside him trembles. These are not the wounds that bleed. These are the wounds that shape. Musashi understood this long before his legend took form. Between his duels, those battles the world celebrates, there were long, solitary walks through forests and fields where no applause followed him. No crowd watched him. No one cared about his victories or his doubts. It was in those quiet miles, carrying the invisible heaviness of his own choices, that his spirit hardened into steel, not from triumph, but from the agony of being alone with himself. You know this modern version. You fight battles behind closed doors, battles with your past, with your failures, with a person you pretend to be. No one sees the nights you unravel. No one hears the arguments you have with yourself. No one feels the pressure you bury beneath responsibility. This is the suffering society tells you to ignore, to distract yourself from, to drown with screens and noise and numbness. But you've begun to understand what you carry determines what you become. Silent agony is not weakness. It is the crucible where self-respect forms. It is the weight that forces you to choose direction instead of drifting. It is the fire that burns away the excuses and leaves you staring at the raw, unfiltered truth of your life. And though no one sees this burden, though no one praises you for bearing it, it is herein the hidden struggle that your foundation forms. A man does not become steel by living softly. He becomes steel by standing under the weight no one else knows he holds and refusing to collapse. Life does not tap you on the shoulder before it strikes. It has never cared for your readiness, your plans, or your comfort. Musashi learned this the hard way, ambushed not only by enemies, but by the unpredictable rhythm of existence itself. One duel came with no warning. One opponent lurked where silence seemed safe. One moment of hesitation could have ended his name before it ever became legend. Yet in those sudden trials, he discovered something essential. A man is revealed not by the battles he expects, but by the ones he does not. You feel these ambushes in the modern world where the blade is no longer steel, but circumstance. A job lost without explanation. A woman leaving without closure. A friend turning cold. A dream collapsing without mercy. A wave of uncertainty sweeping through your plans, tearing apart the illusion of control. These are the ambushes of today, and they cut deeper than swords because they strike the mind, the identity, the heart. In those moments, your old self panics. It looks for escape routes, that no longer exist. But this is where strength is forged, not in the event, but in your response. Life's unpredictability is not an insult. It is an invitation, a silent challenge asking, can you remain calm when the ground shifts without warning? Can you steady your breath when everything familiar dissolves? Can you hold your center when the world tries to take it? Masculine strength is not loud. It is not frantic. It is the art of meeting chaos without surrendering your clarity. The world will ambush you again. Someone will betray you. Something will fall apart. A plan will fail. But each unexpected blow teaches you the same ancient lesson. You cannot control the storm, but you can control the warrior who walks through it. And when you remain steady in moments meant to break you, the world itself begins to recognize you not as a victim of circumstance, but as a man being sharpened by it. There is a kind of pain you do not wait for. You choose it. You grasp it with both hands, the way a warrior sharpens his blade before dawn, knowing that the edge he hones today may save his life tomorrow. Musashi did this ritual daily, grinding steel against stone not because someone demanded it, but because discipline is the pain a man willingly accepts to prevent a far greater pain later. This is the masculine paradox. The suffering you choose becomes the shield that protects you from the suffering you fear. Yet look at the modern world. Men scroll instead of sharpening. They drift instead of deciding. They chase quick comfort and drown in slower misery. Each swipe numbs a piece of their potential. Each hour lost to distraction rusts the blade they should be forging. The pain of discipline feels heavy in the moment, but the pain of regret is heavier, still an anchor that drags a man through years he can never reclaim. When you train your body, you hurt. When you face your responsibilities, you strain. When you choose honesty over convenience, you bleed a little internally. But these are the chosen katsuta, small, controlled wounds that harden your spirit and align your life. Discipline is not a punishment. It is an offering, a sacrifice you give today, so that the world cannot impose a greater cost on you tomorrow. Comfort seduces you with promises it never keeps. Strength demands prices that always pay back. And somewhere inside you, you already know which path is yours. You feel it in the quiet guilt after wasting a day you needed to conquer. You feel it in the tension that builds when you avoid the tasks meant to shape you. You feel it in the hollow ache of a life lived too gently. You do not become a man by avoiding what hurts. You become a man by choosing the pain that cleanses you, the pain that organizes your chaos, the pain that sharpens the blade you will one day rely on. There are wounds that do not simply hurt, they reveal. Musashi learned this after defeats had left him questioning everything he thought he knew about himself. His early failures did not feel noble. They did not feel educational. They felt humiliating. They stripped him of identity, leaving him alone with the echo of his own limitations. But those wounds, unwelcome as they were, carved away the illusions he clung to. They made space for a stronger version of himself to emerge. You felt these wounds too. The heartbreak that left you emptier than you imagined possible. The failure that shook your belief in your own competence. The embarrassment that made you want to disappear. These moments feel like the universe exposing your softest parts, tearing through the armor you crafted through your pride. But hidden beneath the sting is a brutal gift. Truth. Pain shows you the man you pretend to be, but it also shows you the man you can become. A shattered expectation reveals the limits of comfort. A broken relationship reveals the shadows you ignored. A humiliating mistake reveals the cracks in your discipline. Pain is not interested in maintaining your illusions. Pain is interested in sculpting your depth. And if you look closely, you'll notice something subtle. Every wound you have ever endured is left behind, not just a scar, but a message. A reminder. A lesson. A quiet whisper of identity. Real growth is not the addition of new layers. It is the removal of false ones. Musashi's greatest strength was not born from victory, but from the wounds that forced him to confront himself without disguise. When pain arrives, most men hide. They drown their wounds in noise. But the man who faces his pain with curiosity sees something extraordinary. He sees the truth of who he is and the outline of who he must become. The wound becomes a doorway, and every step through that doorway brings him closer to the self he has been running from and longing for his entire life. There is a fire each man must walk through, though many spend their lives circling its edges. It is the fire of responsibility, pressure, loss, and growth. A fire that does not destroy, but refines. The blacksmith understands this. Raw metal is useless until it is heated, hammered, and reshaped. Musashi understood it too, recognizing that the boy inside him had to burn so the warrior could emerge. No one becomes forged by chance. Transformation requires flame. Modern life gives men the illusion that they can avoid the fire. That maturity is automatic. That strength arrives without struggle. But you know the truth. You feel the immaturity clinging to youth's softness, inherited from comfort, the hesitation born from fear, the distractions that dull your instincts. These are the remnants of the boy, and the boy cannot lead you into the life you hunger for. Your rites of passage will not be delivered in ceremonial clothing or traditional rituals. They arrive as trials, a responsibility you didn't think you could handle, a setback that forces reinvention, a failure that strips you down to your foundation. These are the flames sent to burn away the old version of you. No topunis. Bato prepe. When you embrace these moments, something changes inside you. You stop seeking comfort. You begin seeking clarity. You stop chasing approval. You start chasing alignment. The boy craves ease and validation. The man craves purpose and structure. And it is only through the fire, through the heat, that bend your identities, that you discover the difference. Not everyone chooses to walk through it, but those who do emerge with eyes that see more sharply and a spirit that stands more firmly. They carry themselves not with arrogance, but with grounded certainty. The fire cleansed them. The fire marked them. The fire made them men. After every duel, Musashi stood slowly, blood on his hands, dirt on his clothing, breath steadying in the raw silence that follows conflict. What defined him was not the victory, but the rising, the willingness to get back on his feet with calm, unshaken eyes. He understood that a warrior is not measured by the blows he avoids, but by the blows he absorbs and transforms. Your life has struck you in ways that few will ever understand. Setbacks that blindsided you, losses that hollowed you out, mistakes that echoed longer than they should have. Yet here, you are still standing, still breathing, still fighting your invisible battlers. You may not see it clearly, but every time you rose after a hit, something inside you sharpened. Modern strength is not flashy. It is not theatrical. It is the quiet power of a man who does not crumble under pressure, who does not react emotionally to every wound, who learns, adjusts, and continues forward. The world tries to provoke you into chaos. It tries to make you rush, panic, and fall apart. But the warrior who stays deliberate, who responds slowly and intentionally, gains an advantage. The frantic man never will. Each blow you have endured has prepared you for the next. Each disappointment has strengthened a part of you that comfort never could. You no longer fear pain because you recognize its pattern. You've seen what it does. You've seen what it reveals. You've seen how it shapes you into someone more resilient than your younger self ever imagined. This is the quiet evolution of a real man. Not loud, not boastful, not seeking applause, just rising, learning, hardening, sharpening. The world will continue to strike it as what the world does. But now, you meet each blow with steady hands and clear eyes. You've learned to turn suffering into strength. You've learned to make pain your fuel. And beneath that calm exterior lies the truth the world cannot take from you. A real man is not the one who avoids pain. A real man is the one who uses it to become unstoppable.